In this video, we're going to review the different kinds of buttons that a user will see on screen. We'll take a look at the icons that each of them have, how to place and receive calls, and adjust the volume. As you can see on my screen here, I've got 4 different buttons, 2 shout downs and 2 ring downs. We can tell the difference between a shout down and a ring down by the icon on each button. The speaker icon represents a button that's a shout down, while the bell icon represents a ring down. Cloud9 features what we like to call presence management. You can see on these connections that are active, the last name will appear of anybody who's connected at this time. If you use your mouse and you right-click on that particular connection, you'll actually see the full name of each user that's connected. As you can see here, we only have 1 user who's currently subscribed along with us on this button. Each button will display up to 2 users at a time. If there are more than 2 users who are connected on the same button, rather than seeing their names, you'll see the total subscriber count. If there are multiple users who are connected at the same time, you'll see all of their names listed under this current subscriber section. This list allows the users to see live in real time who's going to hear them when they try and use this connection. Buttons that are black aren't active, as in there's nobody connected at the other end of this connection, whereas a button that is blue is an active connection where there's another user connected. To engage in a conversation with your counterparty, simply click on the button that you'd like to use. When you see a flashing green color, that means the user's microphone is active. Click the button again to close the microphone. When the button begins to flash red, that means the counterparty is talking to the user. The counterparty is not going to hear what the user is saying unless they actively click on the button to engage in the conversation. When they do that, the button will turn a solid green color, signifying that both parties have their microphone open. When you're finished with the call, you may click on the button to hang up. Ring down connections function differently than a shout down in that when you click on a ring down connection to communicate with your counterparty, it's going to ring the other end like a telephone, and they have to proactively answer that call before the voice path can begin. When the counterparty has answered the call, you'll see their name light up on the button. When you finish with the call, simply click on the button again to hang up. Users have the ability to place an active ring down call on hold if they don't want to have to call the user back. For this example, we're going to engage on ring down 1 to our counterparty. Once we're on an active call, you can press the hold button in the control panel and then select the call which you'd like to place on hold. It will turn an amber color, signifying that the call has been placed on hold. To re-engage in the call, simply click on the button again. Users also have the functionality to turn their calls private using the privacy key. For this example, once again, we're going to engage on an active call on ring down 1. As you can see here, we don't have privacy engaged at the moment because the privacy key has an icon with an unlocked padlock. To turn privacy on for this call, simply click on the privacy button. When privacy has been engaged, the padlock will turn to a locked position, and you'll see that be displayed on the button above as well. While privacy is turned on, any users that share this connection will not be able to join this call. To disengage privacy, simply click on the privacy button in the control panel. Once privacy has been turned off, you'll see the padlock icon not only opens in the control panel, but is then removed from the active button above. If you try to use a connection that is inactive, such as shout down 2 or ring down 2 that you see on screen here, there isn't going to be any action that occurs when you click on that button. If the user wishes to see their call history, they can click on the history button in the control panel. The panel will slide up and the user can see what buttons were being used, who the subscribers and callers were, the time the call occurred, and the duration of the call. Click the X to minimize this window. Users have the ability to pick and choose which device they want to use for each of their call types. Our shout downs by default are going to be on our microphone. As I click on this shout down connection here and talk into the microphone, you can see the microphone key in the control panel responding to my voice. Along with the visual response in the control panel, you'll also see a microphone icon appear on the button above. If I want to toggle this conversation over to my handset, the first thing I have to do is release this call and go back to an idle state. Once in an idle state, I can preemptively select the handset I'd like to use by clicking on the handset key in the control panel. Once it's been selected, I can then click back into the button I want to use the handset on. Now that I've engaged back on this conversation, you can see as I talk into the microphone of the handset, we're seeing a response on the handset key in the control panel. Additionally, you'll notice that the icon on the button itself has changed from a microphone to the handset. When I'm finished with the call, I can hang up. Once I've hung up the call, if I try to engage on this button again, it will revert back to the default device, which is the microphone. You can see here as I toggle it back on, once again, the microphone is back in control of this call. We can also perform the reverse action on our ring down connections and have those calls be had over our microphone and speakers. As you can see here, when I engage on this ring down connection and talk into the microphone, it responds over the handset. If I want to take this conversation off the handset and onto the microphone and speaker instead, I first have to hang up the call. Then I have to preemptively select the microphone toggle in the control panel, and then re-engage on the call. As you can see, I'm now talking into the microphone instead. We're getting a response in the control panel on the microphone key, and instead of the handset icon, you're now seeing a microphone icon on this ring down connection. When I'm finished, I can hang up the call. As expected, by default, we will revert back to the handset when I try and engage on this ring down again. Something to notice as we're looking at the interface here is what happens to the button if I simply hover my mouse over it. As you can see, a volume slider will appear over the button, signifying the volume level for this one button in particular. Users can control the volume of the incoming audio on a button-by-button basis. While their mouse is hovered over the button and the volume slider is above, they can use the scroll wheel to increase and decrease the volume of the button. If the volume gets too low, the icon will change on the button with a little red cross mark signifying that there's no volume to be heard. In addition to using the scroll wheel, users can also elect to click and drag on the volume slider as well. This can be done on a button-by-button basis as we hover over each of these buttons individually. Alternatively, if the user would like to completely mute the volume of the application, in the lower left-hand corner they'll see a master volume for the entire application. Same as above, they can use their scroll wheel while hovering over this button to increase and decrease the master volume of the application. Again, if they turn the volume all the way down, the icon will change to have a red cross mark over it signifying that there's no volume to be heard. This concludes our video of the basic call functionality and button usage of the Cloud9 application.